In 2006, Ronaldinho was the best player in the world. The reigning Ballon d'Or winner, the man who made the Santiago Bernabeu rise to its feet and applaud him in the middle of a rivalry match. And at the absolute peak of it all, he saw something no one else did, something far more inevitable.
Yo ya lo conocía, ¿no? De mirar, ¿no? Sus partidos ahí en las categorías inferiores del Barça.
He told Kobe Bryant about it and pointed to a 17-year-old kid, Lionel Messi, and said,
Estaba ahí hablando con Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho me dice, Kobe, mira, te voy a presentar el juego que va a ser el mejor juego de todos los tiempos. ¿Tú qué? Tú eres el mejor jugador. Él me dice, no, esto aquí va a ser el mejor. Fui Lionel Messi, tenía solamente 17 años.
I'm going to introduce you to the player who will be the greatest of all time. And here's what people don't understand. He didn't just say it, he made it happen. For 2 years, he built Messi into the player he saw coming, protected him, elevated him. And when the time came when Barcelona had to choose, they made one of the most ruthless decisions in football history. A decision Ronaldinho never truly recovered from. This is a story about how one of the greatest players of all time saw what nobody else could and gave up everything so another could become the greatest of all time. In the summer of 2006, Barcelona arrived in the United States for their pre-season tour. At that moment, they were the dominant force in world football. Under Frank Rijkaard, they had just secured both La Liga and the Champions League. And at the center of it all was Ronaldinho, the reigning Ballon d'Or winner. Off the pitch, Ronaldinho had built a friendship with Kobe Bryant. Not just a casual connection, but a mutual respect between two athletes operating at the highest level of their respective sports. During the tour, Barcelona stopped in Los Angeles. Through Nike, a meeting was arranged. Kobe was there. Ronaldinho was there. But what makes that moment significant is not the meeting itself, it's who Ronaldinho chose to bring with him. Lionel Messi, 17 years old, still unknown to the world.
We used to shoot after practice, shooting from the outside box, you know? Bro, 100 shots, 98 goal. But I'm telling you, it's not normal. Top bins, bang, against Ter Stegen.
In that room, without hesitation, Ronaldinho looked at Kobe and made a statement that, at the time, carried no weight beyond belief. He told him that Messi was going to become the greatest of all time. Not one of the best, not a future star, the greatest.
Yeah, I feel lucky. He plays with pure clarity when he's playing. When he's running at that breakneck speed, the game is still clear in his eye. When other players, the normal people, it goes a bit fuzzy in them areas.
Now, as powerful as that recommendation sounds today, at the time, it was almost unthinkable. Because the player making that statement was not just another great talent. He was at the absolute peak of world football.
Y lo hizo de forma contundente con un primer sensacional gol de Ronaldinho.
In the 2005-2006 season, Ronaldinho played 45 matches, scoring 26 goals and providing 24 assists, 50 goal contributions. He led Barcelona to La Liga, the Champions League, and the Spanish Super Cup. On paper, those are elite numbers, but even those numbers fail to explain what he actually was. Because Ronaldinho was never just about production. He was something else entirely. There were players with better statistics that season, but no player could do what he did on a football pitch. Not in the way he did it. Not with that level of freedom. Not with that level of control. From the left flank, he dictated matches with a kind of ease that made elite defenders look irrelevant. He moved past opponents without urgency, created solutions that didn't exist a second earlier, and he performed as if there were no pressure, even in the most pressured moments. And the evidence is everywhere. Against AC Milan in the Champions League, he faced a defensive unit built on experience and discipline. Alessandro Nesta, Jaap Stam, Gennaro Gattuso, Andrea Pirlo, players who defined control at the highest level. None of it mattered. They couldn't stop him. They couldn't even contain him. And then there was his performance at the Santiago Bernabeu in 2005, where Ronaldinho scored twice. The second goal, in particular, ended the contest. 15 minutes from full time, the game was gone, Real Madrid were beaten, and the Bernabeu stood up and applauded a rival player. That is the level he was operating on when he made that statement about a 17-year-old Lionel Messi. The Brazilian was operating at a level that very few players in history have ever reached. In 2005-2006, he defined football, a second FIFA World Player of the Year, his first Ballon d'Or. Individual recognition confirmed what everyone was already seeing on the pitch.
I learned so many things playing alongside Ronaldinho. I'm really grateful to him for the way he treated me from the very first moment, because it was a really great help for me. Every day he tried to do better than he did, not just in tricks with the ball.
For a player at the absolute peak of the sport, with no equal in sight, to point at a 17-year-old and suggest that he would surpass everyone that had come before, it didn't sound like insight. It sounded like crazy. Because players at that level don't make statements like that without reason. They don't hand over the future of the game so casually, especially not when they are still in control of the present. But this wasn't a guess, and it wasn't modesty. Because behind the scenes, away from matches and away from the spotlight, something else was already happening. Every day at Barcelona's training ground, inside the dressing room, in the small, unnoticed moments that never make it to the pitch. Ronaldinho wasn't predicting the future. He was watching it develop in front of him, and more importantly, he was part of the reason it was happening at all. To understand how that rise was being shaped, you have to go back to November 2003. Barcelona were preparing for a friendly away at Porto, and Lionel Messi had just been called up to join the first team. It should have been a defining moment, but the reality looked very different. At El Prat Airport, the attention was elsewhere. Photographers and journalists gathered, not to follow the squad's departure, but to capture Ronaldinho's return from international duty with Brazil. He was the story, the focal point, the reason people showed up. And somewhere in the background, almost unnoticed, was a young Argentine with long hair, walking through the terminal alongside a few other academy players. No cameras, no attention, no expectations. At that point, Ronaldinho and Messi existed in completely different worlds. Ronaldinho was a €30 million signing from Paris Saint-Germain, the face of a new Barcelona era, personally chosen by Joan Laporta to lead a footballing revolution in Catalonia.
At the time, Ronaldinho was the main man in the dressing room. He was number 10. What he could do with the ball was just incredible.
Messi was something else entirely. 17 years old, quiet, unknown, nearly 10,000 kilometers away from home, trying to find his place in an environment that hadn't yet acknowledged him. Those within the academy understood what he was. They'd seen it up close. They knew the level. But inside the first team, that recognition didn't exist yet. To them, he was just another youth player, another name filling space during pre-season, someone who would train, travel, and eventually disappear back into the system. Nothing about that moment suggested what was coming. Nothing, except what Ronaldinho had already started to see. Despite making his debut against Porto in 2003, Messi continued to train with the first team only occasionally. He was still a young player, moving through the margins of a squad of established stars. But one training session changed everything. According to Guillem Balaguer, after Messi's very first session with the senior team, Ronaldinho picked up the phone and called his close friend, journalist Cristina Cubero. "I've just finished training with someone who is going to be better than me," he said. Cubero was skeptical, but for Ronaldinho, it wasn't a guess. Watching Messi manipulate the ball, seeing how naturally everything came to him, was enough to convince one of the greatest players in the world. Most people at the time thought Messi was good. Very few understood just how good he was. Ronaldinho did.
Spašava da lopta ne bude izgubljena. Drugi puta griješi sada Tomasu predaj lopte i na Mesiju. I 2-1. 2-1, velika pogreška.
He later told The Athletic, Me, Deco, and the whole team had been following Leo since the youth team, going to watch his games. We already expected that he would be the best. On the sidelines, Frank Rijkaard remained cautious. He had a measured approach, understanding Messi's age and the risks of pushing a 16-year-old too fast. But inside the dressing room, the senior player's conviction was clear. It wasn't long before Ronaldinho and the others convinced Frank Rijkaard that Lionel Messi didn't belong in the youth teams anymore. He needed to be part of the first team, permanently.
His feet were talking on the pitch, on the field, and he was just amazing to watch. His skills were incredible.
And from that moment, the trajectory of not just a player, but of football itself began to change.
I think technically one of the best, and I think when he was in his peak of time and playable, he was a big part of Messi going to the first team.
By early 2004, Lionel Messi had signed his first professional contract with a €30 million buyout clause and began training with the senior team full-time at the start of the 2004-2005 season. But while Messi's feet were loud on the pitch, the rest of him wasn't. Those around FC Barcelona at the time remembered two things about Messi. He was an astonishing talent, and he was incredibly quiet, almost to the point of muteness. Ronaldinho noticed both, and he acted on it. He became a kind of godfather to Messi, shaping an environment designed to bring him out of his shell and accelerate his development. At the time, Ronaldinho was the center of everything in that dressing room, and he took it upon himself to show Messi what it meant to be that player. This wasn't just friendship, it was mentorship, a quiet kind of engineering, to make sure the player he believed could become the greatest of all time would have the easiest possible path to get there. He made Messi feel at home. He made sure he sat next to him in the dressing room. He pulled him into conversations he never would have started himself. And at dinner, he invited him to sit at the Brazilian table, joking that Messi was the only Argentine they would allow to join them. Messi was absorbed into Ronaldinho's circle, and a seat was always kept for him, alongside players like Deco, Silvinho, Edmilson, and Thiago Motta. It was subtle, but it was deliberate. Ronaldinho never expected Messi to be loud or to lead conversations. That was never the point. The point was something deeper, to let him be himself, while quietly making him feel like he belonged. And in a dressing room full of stars, that meant a lot. Messi being around the senior players wasn't just limited to training sessions. Off the pitch, he started joining the group of Brazilians for dinners at least once a month, and slowly he became a regular. The teasing about his Argentine roots was constant, but all in good fun. Messi didn't speak much, didn't try to dominate the conversation, but he always accepted the invite. Ronaldinho wanted him there, not just to eat, but to learn about life outside football. Their relationship had grown close enough that Ronaldinho would later describe it like this: "We spent so much time together, traveling and playing games, that we became a family, always together, laughing and enjoying." It wasn't just friendship, it was mentorship. A big brother showing a prodigy how the world works. Messi had talent beyond comprehension, but talent alone can only take you so far. What he needed, and what only Ronaldinho could provide, was someone who had already been the best in the world, someone who knew the weight of expectation from teammates, opponents, the media, the fans. Of course, Ronaldinho wasn't there to babysit. His own responsibilities were enormous, and Messi on the pitch needed almost no guidance. The advice Ronaldinho gave was simple: "Leo needs no comments. The only advice I had for him is to play with joy and freedom. Just play with the ball at your feet. The rest will come naturally." But outside the pitch and in those moments together, the influence was clear. The synchronicity between them, on and off the field, was undeniable. Ronaldinho was shaping something extraordinary. And in the summer of 2005, the world witnessed it live on the pitch when Ronaldinho helped kickstart Messi's rise, setting the stage for one of the most pivotal moments in the young Argentine's early career. On the 1st of May 2005, as the 2004-2005 season neared its end and Barcelona inched closer to their first trophy since 1999, Camp Nou was electric. Round 34, home against Albacete. Scoreline 1-0. You could feel the tension in the air. Messi, with long hair and a baby face, was called on in the 88th minute to replace Samuel Eto'o. Barca needed every second to hold their lead. And then it happened. Messi and Ronaldinho combined almost instinctively. Ronaldinho glanced past defenders, chipped a delicate ball through, and Messi, calm beyond his years, the net rippled, but the linesman flag went up. Ronaldinho smiled, cocked his head. Replay suggested Messi was, at worst, level. But the goal was disallowed. Minutes later, Deco threaded a ball down the left. Messi half-controlled it with his head, jostled with the defender, and slipped in a short pass to Ronaldinho. The Brazilian repeated the same scoop pass from before. Messi paused, let the ball bounce, and then gently lifted it. This time, the flag stayed down. The net bulged. Lionel Messi had scored his first goal for Barcelona. The celebration was more than a moment. Messi ran toward the stands, and Ronaldinho sprinted over. Messi leapt onto his back. 80,000 fans erupted. As time went on, Messi began dropping hints on the pitch that he wasn't just another promising youth. He was ready to surpass even the best of the first team.
Oh, brilliant skill from Lionel Messi. Surging forward with real menace here. Brilliant from Messi. Oh, what a goal that is! And the whole of this ground stands and applauds the 19-year-old.
In the 2006-2007 season, the 19-year-old bagged 17 goals in 36 games. But the moment the world truly understood just how extraordinary he was came on the grandest stage of all, against their bitter rivals. March 10th, 2007. The two giants of Spanish football were locked in one of the closest title races in over 20 years. Both sides had already been knocked out of Europe, and every eye in Spain was fixed on this Clásico. What happened that night would etch itself into football history, thanks to one Argentinian teenager. It was a frantic, pulsating 90 minutes. Real Madrid took the lead 3 times. Ruud van Nistelrooy with a brace, Sergio Ramos with a header. But in injury time, Messi, already responsible for 2 equalizers, finished with brilliance. A perfectly timed assist from none other than Ronaldinho, setting him up. The young Argentinian completed his first Barca hat-trick and delivered what can only be described as one of the greatest individual performances the Camp Nou had ever seen. That night, football had found its next superstar. A first glimpse of the genius Barcelona had nurtured, and the opening chapter of a career that would soon rewrite the history of the sport. Despite Messi's heroics in that Clásico, Ronaldinho was still arguably the best player in the team. But the truth was hard to ignore. His form had dropped drastically compared to the heights of his peak seasons at Barcelona. And Barcelona paid the price. By the end of the 2006-2007 season, the title slipped through their fingers to Real Madrid on the head-to-head rule. The decline continued into 2007-2008, Ronaldinho's 5th season at the club. Whispers about a lack of dedication in training grew louder. The parties, the nights out, it all painted a picture of a superstar enjoying life off the pitch more than dominating it on the pitch. Unsurprisingly, with Dinho far from his peak, Barcelona flunked the season, missing out on both La Liga and the Champions League.
Ya Rijkaard no continúa porque hacemos 2 años malos sin ganar ningún título. Fichan a Guardiola, ¿no? Yo sin haber hablado con él, ¿no? Y yo tengo la sensación, conociendo al Guardiola jugador, al Guardiola persona dentro de un vestuario, fui compañero suyo.
Then came the turning point. Toward the end of the season, a relatively unknown Pep Guardiola stepped in to replace Rijkaard, bringing with him a wave of sweeping changes. And then, in one of the most shocking moves in football history, Ronaldinho was sold to AC Milan in 2008. it was almost unimaginable. Here was a player still in the prime of his career, still capable of moments of pure magic, being shown the door. The numbers showed just how impactful he still was. Over 207 games for Barcelona, Ronaldinho had scored 94 goals, provided 71 assists, and managed a goal contribution every 1.25 games. He had helped the club win a slew of trophies, including 2 La Liga titles and that iconic Champions League triumph over Arsenal in 2006, a season many would call the peak of his career. So why let him go? According to former Barcelona midfielder Alexander Hleb, it wasn't just about form. Hleb recalled that the club feared the Samba magician might negatively shape the future 8-time World Player of the Year, saying, "Ronaldinho and Deco often came to training drunk. That's why Ronaldinho and Deco were sold in 2008, because they were afraid they would bring down Lionel Messi." And while that was partly true, the bigger picture went beyond Messi. The real motivation behind Ronaldinho's departure had more to do with his impact on the dressing room as a whole. Ronaldinho, for his part, has always pushed back against the idea that he could lead Messi astray. "That makes no sense," he told The Athletic. And when asked whether his off-field antics forced him out of the Nou Camp, he said, "It was easy. It was time to go. I wanted to follow in the footsteps of Frank Rijkaard, who was my coach and said great things about Milan." Yet, even as the magician prepared to leave, he didn't forget his protege. In one of their final training sessions together, Ronaldinho turned to Messi and said something simple, but monumental. He could take his number 10 shirt. Messi accepted the honor with pride, but there was a sadness in that moment too. This wasn't just the passing of a jersey, it was the passing of a torch. Now, there's a strong case to be made that the bond between Ronaldinho and Messi was one of the most defining factors in shaping Messi's career. Part friendship, part brotherhood, part mentorship. What they had went far deeper than most people ever realized. And when Ronaldinho left, it forced Messi to step up in ways he hadn't before. The slender, agile dribbler wasn't just creating chances anymore. He became the team's primary goal scorer. In the very first season after Ronaldinho departed, Messi exploded. 23 goals and 13 assists in just 31 games. That's 8 more direct goal involvements in only 3 more matches than 2007-2008. And from there, it only kept increasing, year after year, until today, when Messi sits as the club's all-time highest scorer. For many, there is no debate. Lionel Messi is the greatest footballer to ever play the game. 8 Ballon d'Ors, countless club records, and a World Cup to crown it all. The proof is undeniable. On the other hand, prime Ronaldinho was one of the most joyous and skillful footballers the game has ever seen. A magician who revived a Barcelona side desperate for glory. But after Barca sold him, his career went downhill, spiraling away from the heights he once commanded, and the sparkle he once had never fully returned. Still, his 5-year spell at Barcelona is remembered as a golden era. He arrived at a club struggling after years without major trophies and transformed it entirely. Iconic moments like the standing ovation at the Bernabeu after a 3-0 El Clasico win in 2005 cemented him as a legend. When Ronaldinho departed in 2008, Messi was ready. The torch had been passed. What Ronaldinho started, reviving Barcelona, Messi would carry forward to unprecedented heights. 10 La Liga titles, 4 Champions Leagues, 8 Ballon d'Ors, and finally a World Cup in 2022. On that day, Ronaldinho reflected, "It's very rewarding to see friends achieving their dreams." No bitterness, no regret, just a man watching a prophecy he whispered 18 years earlier finally come true. The story of Lionel Messi and Ronaldinho is more than just 2 great players crossing paths. It's a tale of mentorship, chemistry, and legacy. And it reminds us that the greatest player of all time didn't just emerge from nowhere. Ronaldinho's guidance during Messi's formative years at Barcelona laid the groundwork for what would become one of football's most extraordinary careers. From welcoming him into the dressing room to assisting his very first goal, Ronaldinho was there every step, quietly shaping Messi's path. Now here's the big question. Would Messi have become the greatest player in the world without Ronaldinho's guiding hand? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more videos like this. Cheers!